And the speaker is Guillaume Vaslin, CEO and Creative Director of ENNOstudio in Germany. Guillaume, are you around?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much for pronouncing my name perfectly. I know Guillaume is not an easy one.
Évidemment, mais c'est normal pour moi.
Okay, you're French. Cool.
Guillaume is a French entrepreneur and strategic designer. Let me give you a brief background about you, about yourself. After founding Elysian Games Studio and then managing the European magazine, he headed to Latin America to participate in the Startup Chile incubator while advising several VCs and startups. Guillaume has designed products for several banks and insurance companies such as Tio Sparta Bank, Houston Road, ADAC, and Bank Claire, in addition to European scale-ups such as HelloFresh and Mime Wesley. As the head of ENNOstudio, Guillaume sees design as the confluence of stakeholder interests, targeted user experience, and technological potential. C'est à toi, Guillaume.
Thank you so much. A lot of interesting talks today. I have to say I learned a lot. So thank you so much for having me here today. I'm going to discuss a little bit how to redesign banking and how to make it more edge responsive in order to fit better to the challenges of the next generation. So in the next 15 minutes, hopefully you will know a little bit more about a designer's perspective on current banking challenges. Secondly, what is design thinking and how to make the best use of it. And last but not least, how to redesign financial and banking product in order to fit a bit better to the upcoming generations. But yeah, before we get started, there was already a presentation, but I'm going to say a few more words. So my name is Guillaume. I am a French designer. You may hear that from my accent. I'm running ENNOstudio, which is a product design consultancy. And together with our partner, FinoConsult, which is a banking and fintech consultancy, we create engaging digital experiences for bankings. And together, over the last few years, we had the chance and the luck to work on many banking and financial products, mostly in Western Europe. And we came to the following conclusions. We keep on hearing that the banking is being disrupted. It's a bit like a common word, a common adjective defining the banking world for now, I would say 10 years. Which is partially true, but if we had to be a bit more precise, I would rather speak about a banking world becoming more heterogeneous. So it's becoming more fragmented and much more, it knows many disparities. And I believe it's going to keep on going. I'm going to give you a few explanations why is that the case. Obviously, one of the biggest digital transformation engine was the COVID. As our partner FinoConsult actually observed over the last few years, the amount of online account opening among banks keep on growing. So now 66% of banks offer pure online onboarding, which is 10% more than the previous year. Obviously, there is a trend of digitalization, but what happened over the last year has been quite an exponential growth. So the COVID is definitely here as a disruptive strength, and it's kind of forcing businesses in more general banks to rethink a bit, their online presence. Another disruptive factor has been this new generation of consumers. So that combined with a new financial literacy and an easy access to financial products, this mix has been quite explosive, so to say. I don't know if you remember what happened with the GameStop case, but there is all of a sudden a generation of youngsters that all sign up for online brokers and started to threaten established hedge funds and other well-established financial actors. So you have this new kind of generation really eager to get involved, which was definitely not the case 15 to 20 years ago. And of course, you add up on that the continuous and relentless growth of challenger banks or neobanks. You get an explosive mix here because as you can see here, the few figures from Revolut in N26, these challenger banks keep on growing and they're not going to stop. So they have been stealing market share for a few years now, and I don't think they have hit a plateau yet. So they will definitely keep on challenging the traditional banking world at least for the next, I would say, 3 to 5 next years. And all these disparities actually can be actually quite visible in a Fino score, which is the benchmark tool of Fino Consult. So they basically run an analysis of, I think they have more than 250 banks now, and they analyze 12 different dimensions. And what we can really see there's also disparities, not only between the consumers and the banks, but also among the banks themselves. So there is definitely a huge gap between the top banks and well, the last banks, between different countries, between the offering. So as you can understand, I mean, the banking world is quite fragmented, the least to say. So the big question is here: how do you keep up, right? How do you make sure that your products are future-proof? How do you make sure that you can you stay competitive? How you can make sure that you can actually answer the challenges and the needs of the next generation of consumers? And the good thing is, I'm going to deliver one key today. The key is design thinking. I know, pardon my French, it's a bit like a buzzword we've also been hearing for quite a few times. But I believe that exactly in such kind of extremely fragmented markets, design thinking makes a big difference. For those who are not really familiar with his mindset, with his methodology, allow me to do a quick reminder. So the design thinking has basically 5 phases. The first one is empathize. So it's all about obviously building empathy, building understanding in front of your customer. I believe that's the most important phase, to be honest. Then you have define, when you interpret the insights and you draw some conclusions out of it. Ideate, obviously, you try to generate as many ideas as possible to answer these customer needs and these insights. And then prototype and test, where you make your idea tangible and you validate it by testing it in front of your users. So that's basically the 5 pillars of design thinking. And what is here extremely important to understand, it's not a linear process, right? It's not chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. It's more like a back and forth, kind of a feedback loop, dynamic. So while prototyping, you will come up with new ideas. By testing, you will obviously learn much more about your users. So then you will maybe build another kind of profile. Also by testing, you will maybe realize you don't focus on the right problem. So don't see it as a really waterfall kind of a process when you go from one step to another. I think you're all familiar with Agile. Well, that's basically the same. These 5 phases of design thinking, they always go back and forth. That's what a bit of theory, a bit of academical background. Now we can really get into how to apply it and how to make the best use of it. And I'm going to draw a bit your attention on the first phases, which is defining the target group and really building empathy with them, because this is going to be extremely important in order to make sure your product and your offering is future-proof. And the best way to build empathy is to assume a beginner mindset. I don't know if there are any kids here in a crowd, but basically you will have to think like a toddler, like a newborn. And because the idea is really to approach your users, to approach your problem from a pure, neutral perspective, without any having cliches, stereotypes, biases. You come with a really virgin mentality and you speak to your users. Because the idea is exactly like kids, you have to come here and ask anything for everything. Like kids, they are never satisfied with what they see. They keep on asking questions. They want to know the why for everything. And the most important, they are not going to bring any judgment. So if they see me speaking, they will ask me why I have a strong accent, but they will never, come up to the conclusion that I'm French, because they don't have all this history. And that you have to do exactly the same when you try to understand your users. You have to be without biases. You have to listen, to ask a lot of questions, and try to identify a little bit the patterns of your users. I don't know if it makes sense, but keep that in mind. Beginner mindset, 0 cliches, 0 stereotype. And when you get to user interview, when you do user research, try to really approach them with this virgin mentality. So now we're going to see a little bit how to apply, especially this design thinking and this particular task which is the building the empathy for the next generation. But these actually apply to any kind of generation. I just picked up the young generation because I believe that they are, well, it's an on-top market. Well, it's not saturated. And on top of that, well, we are all here a bit older, and we definitely can't really identify with the 16 years old, obviously. So that's why I think it's a good exercise to take young customer here. So let's say that one Monday morning you come back at work or from home office, depending where you are, and you hear from your boss, we have to take on a bit the teenagers market. We have to focus more on the young customer. It's Monday morning, 8 o'clock. You see that in your face. That's quite a challenge. The first reason is because young doesn't mean anything, right? It can mean 16 years old, 70 years old, 20, 25, 30. So you have suddenly, this task, this mission possible, and you have to make the best out of it. We're going to do that together using the design thinking mindset. Well, the first phase, right? Let's say you take two target group. You take the one 16 to 18 years old and the other one 25 to 30. We're going to go through three first phases. First one, by building empathy, you will realize that the youngest target group, they're really used to instant reaction, right? They rely heavily on emojis and meme culture. They're really appealed by engaging storytelling and emotional content, right? I mean, we all know TikTok. We all know these highly engaging and motivating apps. While the bit older young generation, even though they're heavily digitized, they still were born in an analog world, and they are a bit in conflict between these two worlds. They are not 100% satisfied by the current offering, yet they manage all their life digitally. So a bit of different mindsets. By looking at a defined phase, you will start to write down some bullet points, such as that the young generation, the 16, 18, they want some interactive features, self-explain, playful, and also they maybe don't have the same use as the older generation. They will rather want, some basic banking features. While the other target group, the older, they will rather focus on having something 100% remotely, but working. They don't want to go to the branches. They don't want to spend the time on telephone. They want to have everything working. And of course, they want some real added value out of their banking system. So that's, you did a bit of this research. Now it's time for ideation. And by ideation, you will come up for the young generation with snackable, so engaging and interacting educative content about banking, because they definitely want to learn more. They're extremely curious generation. And maybe with some gamified components, such as a loyalty program when you can gather points, when you can get reward, something a bit that challenge a bit to participate and partake to your product. The older generation, I mean the oldest, the 25 to 30, they would rather be interested in mental accounting, shared money features, and maybe some forecasts or even some crypto features, which is, as you see, quite different for the younger generation. And in theory, here, the conclusion is obviously that you can't have one product to answer the same kind, to two different kind of target groups. I mean, for the first one, you have a different set of features, which is maybe another product than the older generation. So here, you obviously have to think that one product for different target group is not always working. And the good thing is we did that already a few years ago for the Bank Claire, which is the ex-Bank Corp. And we created a mobile banking specially tailor-made for the young professional, for the first-time employees. And this has actually been quite a success. We had a net promoter score of 24, a steady customer growth in Switzerland, which is not bad. And by really focusing on this target group, as this really niche market, we had the best result rather than having kind of a one-size-fits-all banking. As you may understand, my core message here today is to have to move to another kind of generation of banking, what I would call the age-responsive banking, when you tailor-made and you customize your product, your features for every kind of target groups you may have and every kind of audiences. I have only 1 minute left, so I will wrap up as quickly as I can. It's time to design with the users and not only for them. And the best way to do that is not to build one product, but at least several or adapted product for them, for the specific target group. And the key to do that, I believe, is to use the empathy, the beginner mindset of design thinking. I hope everything was clear. I will be with my partner, Chris, at the ENNOstudio booth. You can either speak about banking, about design, about both. We will be more than welcome more than happy to listen to you and to answer your question. Thank you so much for your attention. If you have any question, feel free to write them in the chat or just let me know.
Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup, Guillaume.